Hello and welcome to I'm Listening, Stay Connected. I'm Listening is a 24/7, 365 initiative that works to destigmatize mental health. If you want to join the conversation, you can do so by sending your question into our Loveline DMs or by tweeting hashtag I'm listening. We have a great show planned for you. Tonight we have Johnny Gill, musical icon, and Dr. Dodson, and we'll be talking about mental health and domestic violence. Oh, let's start off though with something a little more lighthearted, and that's happiness. It's an interesting topic, and when I bring it up, it can confuse people, especially when we're talking times like this during a pandemic. Again, we're taking everything seriously, but we want to make sure we're also taking into account the possibility for joy, for some pleasure. Now, remember, we live in a pleasure culture often will shame attempts at joy and pleasure as being lazy or sometimes feel as though it's something we have to earn. Now, it's a powerful part of mental health, but now more than ever, and we're really trying to find healthy distractions away from what's happening. As we talked about on an earlier show, not about toxic positivity. We're not trying to find the silver line on the side because mental health is about feeling all of our feelings and creating space and permission for all of them. That's how we're going to get through this as mentally healthy as possible. That's also how we build intimacy, connecting with others, talking vulnerably about feelings and our struggles. And so we're trying to do that to be there for ourselves, but also so that we be there for others. So what are we talking about when we're talking about happiness? Now, the first piece is it's about connections, but it's not about all and relationships. And so we want to enter them mind, especially right now. So one of the things I work with my patients on to make sure that we're having really healthy, productive connections, which is what's going to help lead us towards happiness, is checking in during and after. How do we feel when we think about connecting, talking to these individuals? How do you feel during while you are connected? Even more powerfully, how do you feel afterward? Because afterwards, I want neutral or neutral, positive, but we should feel bad or negative after having encountered individuals in real time, phone, or through. So that's the mindful, just checking in on our feelings and our body as we're to these people, because that's part of this. Now, another key component is what we call meaningful work. And what that really is when we unpack it, is it's about using what we call a signature strength. Our signature strength is part of us that we find most meaningful value. So if you're engaging with others or using your time, using parts of yourselves that you don't value or feel your strengths, that's not necessarily going to meet this criteria. That's why you might not feel as happy as possible. So for some people, it's about taking time away to really process with themselves. What are the parts that are the most powerful? Are my strengths? Give me the most meaningful value? And how can I apply those to my day? All right. Sorry about that misconnection. We're doing our best here from Dr. D's home studio. So I was talking to everyone about happiness and ways to really connect to happiness. And, you know, again, I was saying how it's about relationship, but conscious relationship. And that means looking at the way we feel while we're engaging with people before, during, and after. And the before piece is about just making sure that these are connections and relationships where we feel really nourished and good, and checking in on how they feel afterwards, because that's when the most profound barometers let us know whether or not this is going to give us the capacities. But we'll circle back and talk more about that in another show. Right now, we're going to be going to musical icon Johnny Gill. Johnny, welcome to I'm Listening. Stay connected.
What's happening?
I'm having some technical difficulties, but I'm doing my best.
It's okay. It's okay. Listen, we're all doing the best that we can at this time, right?
Oof, perfectionism is out the window.
Oh my
So
goodness.
let me start by asking you what I'm asking all my guests. How is your mental health?
Mine is pretty good. Mine is pretty good because of the way I've approached it and the way that I live and my true strong belief in God is something that I think that is what's caused us or me to be able to accept the things that we can't change and deal with them the best that we can.
That's really beautiful. That sounds really empowering and grounding, that perspective.
Well, my dad was a minister, so I come from church, and that's where it all started for me. So having that foundation, it truly has helped, and especially in these times, because having something and someone that's something to believe in and believe has been and will be many people's greatest challenge. Going through these, dealing with this kind of this situation and these circumstances, but um, I have great faith and to believe that if we can just be patient and try to do what we need to do and do the best that we can in dealing with the circumstances that we'll come out on the other side.
And do you think at a time like this that this might lead more people to take refuge in faith or spirituality? Ones that aren't
Uh,
familiar traditionally doing so?
I think so. I think so. I think it brings people together, even oddly in a different way, just spiritually. I think when you look at the families that are either going to come closer and realizing that we only have each other in this type of crisis and in these times, I think it really will have some level of impact on people's lives, oddly in some strange way that people probably don't even recognize. Being able to be at home to get closer to your kids and your spouse or just your family, your siblings. This has been a life changing experience for many of us in some way, and I think spiritually, it was all due to it only works for the good for all of us.
So, do you find inspiration artistically and musically in a time like this, or are you one of those people that uses it more as a time to rest and rejuvenate?
Really, for me, as a time to rest. I've been getting a ton of requests. I mean, it's every day, nonstop. Uh, I've I've been working and I work so hard, and I'm constantly traveling and working all year round, that having a moment to sit down and finally sit in my house and look around and go, oh, I own that. This is mine. Oh, gee, I never knew I had this. It's been quite eye opening, but it's been, something that was needed for me. So I'm really taking advantage of it, just kind of relaxing and making sure family and everybody's good and family and friends are good. And I'm really just taking it all in, just sitting still, understanding that I'm so comfortable with me and I'm okay with me that I could live with just being with me. And that's what I wonder about many having the challenge of looking at yourself in the mirror to really now have to be challenged to ask yourself, can I live with me? Am I
But
okay
what
with
a
me?
that's powerful because we have so many distractions traditionally in our lives, whether it's work, relationships, going to the gym or whatever it is. And you're right. Right now, we are left so powerfully with just ourselves that we have to
Yeah.
deal with whatever comes up.
Yeah, and it's amazing. It's amazing what you begin to discover about yourself and about others. And that's the thing that I said, that sometimes looking at life, because you just said it, and I said this to many, some friends not too long ago, we get so consumed with when that alarm clock goes off, trying to figure out how to get to the next level of life, to get to the next phase with our business and all the other things that we are striving to achieve, that you get robbed. I think a lot of times we are robbed from what life is really, honestly, truly about, and it is about family. It's about being able to sit down and reflect. It's about being able to look at yourself and ask yourself, "Am I okay with me? Am I doing? And am I being the best me that I can be?" I think it really, to be able to sit down and reflect, which we don't get a chance to do often, really will help you to open up, and will really open up your senses. And I think in a lot of ways.
Yeah, it's so fascinating to hear someone like you talk about the ability to sit quietly because I look at your career and I mean the legacy you have and the amount of things that you've been doing. I mean, you've been making hits since I was a kid. Like I grew
Yeah,
up and you've been carrying me musically into my adulthood. So I like knowing that you're able to just sit.
well, listen, you learn that over a period of time, and I think, listen, where I'm at in life might not be where someone else is. So I get it. I understand. Think about it. When you're a little younger, you run, you want to jump, you want to run around, jump, and play, and do your thing, and live life. And I'm not that old, but I'm just saying I'm in a place where I'm content, settled, where I'm like, I can take it or leave it. I get out, I do things, enjoy life, but I can still take it or leave it, in the sense that if I got to sit at home, and just relax and not do anything, I'm okay with that too.
Yeah, and I think that's such a powerful word, content, because I think that's what it's about. There's going to be things that are happening around us, like right now with COVID-19, where things aren't at their best, maybe we're not thriving. But I think, like you just said, it's about just finding content.
Yeah, yeah. So it's going to teach us all, some of us, what patience is really about.
And I'm learning that I don't have a lot of it. I'm being forced to learn to work with that. So Johnny, I have some tweets that came in that I'd love for you to answer. This first tweet asks, you've been a very active person who works a lot. So is it hard for someone like yourself to have downtime? It's kind of what we were just talking about. What do you say to that?
No, it's not hard, for me, because that's the key. I've worked so much. I'm traveling all year round, nonstop, from one city to the next, and that's all year round. So having a moment to finally sit down and be able to just take it all in here and sit still. I've embraced it. I've embraced it to the fullest. I've watched every movie on Netflix, every movie on Prime Video Prime. I've been done it all, and I got a studio at home. So if I get a little too antsy, I can grab a guitar. I got a recording studio here, and I can just go to town.
I love that. Here's another question that came in. This one asks, I read somewhere that concerts could be postponed to as late as fall 2021. As an artist, how does that make you feel? And how do you think this might change the music industry?
Uh, it is what it is. I think, do we want that to happen? Absolutely not. My love and what I've been doing for 37 years is performing, singing, dancing, enjoying, putting a smile on people's faces. But I understand too, doing and dealing with whatever the challenge is that is coming, that has hit, that has caused the shift in the world. We just got to be able to be patient and understand that when I say do the best that you can, there's a number of things that can always be done. One thing about great music, you can stream it, you can got CDs you can play, you got, and I know that there's a difference when seeing an artist live versus listening to their music, but what we give and leave, to many music lovers when you do what we do, is something that can never be erased. It's here until the end of time, and all you have to do is, it's so accessible. But it's not what you might want ultimately right now. But it does give you the opportunity to still be able to go back. And one thing about music, music is the most powerful, to me, the most powerful, art form that we have, because I've gone all over the country, all over the world. People can't speak your language, but when a song when they hear the intro to a song and they know a song, they'll sing the whole song and can't speak an ounce of my language. And you realize how powerful music is. And it's something that I think that's going to continue to strengthen us and bring us all together. It's always music can make you happy, it can make you sad, it can make you want to do a number of things. And that's the beauty about music and how powerful it is.
No, I agree. And even with the mental health field, I don't think we talk enough about that. Where, like you said, if we're having a rough day, we can find music that kind of mimics that and lets us drop deeper into that emotion, or we can play music that will pull us out of an experience or an emotion and make us feel
Yeah.
better. And I wish we talked more about the therapeutic impacts of
Yeah, I work with kids with autism, and I've seen how, when you hear their stories, but you see how impactful music is to them. When I come in and you start dealing with them about, and I mean, they're asking me questions about songs and music that I recorded over years. And I'm going, you guys are too young to remember that. It's like they are truly amazing, but it just goes to show you how powerful music is. I saw a 2-year-old, which I'm going to post. I saw her mother just posted this yesterday. This 2-year-old singing, if she's two, I'm not even sure if she's fully two, but she was singing the My. Just all she knew is the My. And it's so cute, so adorable. But to just be reminded of how powerful music is and how it can reach all generations.
Yeah, that's right. It meets so many needs. I mean, I was listening to your music all day today, and it was helping me get through my home workout. It was helping me settle down when I needed to take a shower. So thank you for everything you're doing, and thank you for being on our show.
It's my pleasure. My pleasure. Anytime.
Be well and safe.
All right.
Have a great night.
All right. You too.
And there it is again. There's another tool and tip that came out of that. Music, again, it has the capacity to help us drop deeper into something that we want to experience to a greater depth. It can also, like we talked about, really shift our mood and bring us into more positivity, joy, and psychological gift it provides for us. I'm listening. Stay connected. Here, we want some facts and some expert tips, but we also want to let you know that you're listening. If you want to join the conversation, always do so. Send a question to hashtag I'm listening. Tweet that out by sliding into our love line DMs. I have a question right now, and this one asks, I'm just starting to get into a routine because self-isolation. I experience high levels of social anxiety, and I'm worried that after this, I'm going to feel very anxious. I can already feel the social anxiety. It's really hard to keep starting to creep in. Do you have any advice for things I can do now and things I can do once this is over to make this transition smoother? Oh, that's a good question. So many emotional, psychological experiences that we're all to encounter that are not necessarily familiar. So I always just point out that right now what's happening is an event that we are not prepared for, that we don't all just have the internal resources to cope with. And so when life, quote unquote, goes back to normal, whatever that's going to mean, we're going to be encountering some things. And so the methods, the resources that you're utilizing now aren't necessarily going to be applicable, or needed once this all resolves itself. So let's wait and see where we land, what happens when we get out of this. We really start, future tripping. It's going to be needed right now. Whatever you're doing to help regulate that anxiety, more of that's going to be how you're going to maintain your mental health. But let's wait and see how we come out of it. We really kind of start in the future. We have another question, and this one asks, is it a bad time to start therapy? I really feel like it would help with some of my erotic behavior, but I'm not sure if I should wait to meet a therapist in person to see if it's a good fit. I'm nervous about the teletherapy option because it feels a little disconnected. I think now is a terrific idea to get into therapy. Don't be thrown off by the teletherapy component. I'm working with clients that I've worked with in the past via teletherapy. I'm working with some brand new ones via teletherapy, and it's different. It's not better. It's not worse. It's different. And once this all resolves itself, I will then be seeing everyone again in person. But therapy is a powerful resource. Make use of that. Take advantage of that. Absolutely. Start now. Again, not we're not access things at the best, but can still make use of what we have. Again, even for people that are into physical fitness and exercise, home workouts, it might not be the best idea for them, but making the best of it, and it's helpful, and it is the very same way. It's going to provide things it can for television, Skype, and once in person again, we'll go back to that. So don't discount. I think you can still forge a really beautiful therapeutic relationship right now with therapy. I'm glad we have it available to us. There's a time when that wasn't available for a multitude of reasons, practically speaking, and it works. It's really, again, it's different, but it's definitely something still helpful and helpful. So make use of that. All right, now let's talk to I'm listening, Stay Connected OG favorite, Dr. Milo Dodson. Milo, how are you?
Man, first of all, thank you for that introduction. I'm, as a psychologist, never would I have imagined that I would be a follow-up act to Johnny Gill. So that feels pretty special.
I thought that man got my 90s. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and again, like talking about mental health and the connection about how powerful music can be as a coping strategy to mental health, that feels really special, and I'm glad to be back with y'all.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you for being with us. So let's talk about something kind of heavy, but I think it's really valuable and important: domestic violence. Depending on where you're looking, we're seeing spikes of anywhere up to about 35%. And we know report-wise that sometimes only 50% of domestic violence cases are actually even reported. So kind of talk to us about that a little bit.
Yeah, so above and beyond everything else that I say today, I really just want to make sure that I'm validating and that I'm sharing lots of love and encouragement to the survivors, both near and far out there. From the research, we know that when folks and families get back together, whether that's around the holidays or during quarantine, those numbers may spike. And so what again is really important here is just to acknowledge and to share that love. I also need to check my privilege as a cisgender heterosexual male during this time, because I know that for me, safety doesn't tend to be something that I have at the forefront of my head, both in and outside of the household. So the assumption that we make often at times is when we say safer at home is that home is a safe place to begin with. And so what I really also want to encourage folks to think about is to create a concrete, tangible safety plan, having that involve loved ones outside of the home. So and we can get more into that, but again, I do really acknowledge that this is a time where those numbers can unfortunately increase.
Yeah, and thank you for pointing that out, because I think it's easy for some people to keep saying stay home, social distancing, and not taking into account that for some people that they might see outside, that might be what they need to do to get away from the violence that's at home. Like you said, home isn't safe for everyone. So right now, what do you think are some of the preventative measures that you might on the front end offer individuals or couples so as to not find themselves maybe in violent situations?
Yeah, I think right now some of the preventative measures are making sure that we have support outside of the home and kind of having that in a more ongoing sense than maybe we normally would. So when we communicate with people, making sure that ahead of time we're talking about what safety words are. So not necessarily saying like, hey, I need help, but more so just saying like baseball and New York Yankees or something like that. More of a Dodgers fan myself, but you get the idea. So the other thing is making sure that we have a bag packed of essentials, making sure that we know potentially where the abuser is in the house, and making sure that we also are separating ourselves from spaces where weapons may be. And again, the way that we keep ourselves safe at home is that we plan and we prepare to take these preventative measures.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I was looking at, and looking at some of the articles on the topic, is just social services that are available right now. That's something that's necessarily not readily available, and it's also somewhat in short supply. Although there are hotlines and whatnot that people can call, I'm also recognizing that not everyone's going to have access to a safe space. But stepping outside of domestic violence and just looking at general couples relationality, one of the things I'm talking about, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, is just about trying to minimize general conflict just around the whole topic. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. So being able to minimize and navigate conflict right now is particularly challenging because a lot of times we would encourage folks to create and establish physical distance when they're trying to work through some of that. So before the conflict happens, when you're able to have those types of open conversations, I'd encourage folks to say, like, hey, this is going to be my physical area, and this other section of the apartment, the home, the house will be your area. Because now more than ever, we really need to establish those physical boundaries as well as those emotional boundaries.
Yeah, because I think it's easy to glamorize the idea of people say, "Oh, you're home with your family, enjoy that," or "You're home with your partner," and people talk about the possible baby boom. And so I like what you're saying. Not everyone is in a relationship. Triggering topics are going to be safe. They don't have space to get away. So I like the idea of setting that aside. Um, what do you think about that? Do you think that this is going to lead to more of a baby boom, or do you think this is going to lead possibly to more of a divorce boom? What are your thoughts on that?
Wow. There can be different types of booms. I think if we're thinking about a baby boom right now, what a blessing that is, right? So that we're physically and intimately connecting with our partners or people that we're quarantined with. I also think that, it very well could vary. And I'm hesitant to say one thing over the other because one, there could be both. And I also don't want to make it seem like, well, if I'm not booming babies, or if I'm not, listening to Johnny Gill and New Edition and some other things right now, that I'm somehow failing at quarantining with my special somebody. So again, I think there could very well be a balance and a little bit of both that way.
Okay, we have two questions that came in. I'd love for you to answer with us. First one asks, what can someone do if they are self-quarantined with someone who is verbally abusive and feels the need to break someone down with insults and criticism?
Ah, man, yeah. So I really want to acknowledge there's a lot of folks who are experiencing more of the emotional and more of the verbal abuse these days, and they don't have that outlet to physically leave. So what I would encourage that person, as well as others experiencing something similar, is to be able to intentionally connect and reach out to people who do fill you back up, who recognize and encourage you to think about, hey, this is not your fault. This is not your doing. And when we have that spirit of encouragement and that empowerment, we can navigate some of those situations a little bit easier. It's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be, super, super easy. But when we have that support from somebody else, we recognize, hey, this isn't me that's talking. This isn't the negative self-talk about me. This is from an external source. And I can, push that to the side because I have more affirmation from somebody else.
Beautifully said. This is a difficult question. It's kind of rooted in what we were talking about a little bit earlier. And this one asks, is there a good way to escape a toxic home environment right now while being safe and physically distancing? I used to spend a lot of time at the library, but it's closed right now, and walking around all day doesn't seem like a great option. Any advice?
Yeah, so first and foremost, we want to make sure that we're prioritizing folks' physical safety that way. So if there are times when you need to leave, leave. Be able to, ideally, you have a plan and you prepared ahead of time. But when you're physically feeling endangered, we want to encourage folks to get to a safe place and really prioritize that. In an ongoing sense, right now, we're not being told to completely all the time stay indoors. At least for us in our area in Los Angeles, we're being told if we go outside to wear a mask and gloves. And even if you have a bandana, like I'm literally wearing my Ninja Turtle bandana for my mom when I'm going outside. So if people have that as an opportunity to still find that outlet outside of the house, and again, if you're not able to physically leave the house, making sure that we're finding some type of space within the home that feels like a safe haven or feels like a refuge for you.
Beautiful. Dr. Milo Dodson, thank you so much. Have a beautiful night and stay safe.
Thank you. You as well. Thanks for having me.
Of course. And there it is. We're all doing the best we can with the resources we have available to us. Again, this isn't forever, but try to create those sanctuaries throughout your home. Make use of the outdoors to whatever extent is possible. At the end of the show, we'll have some resources on the screen, so please make use of those as needed. Like the earlier question asked, right now is absolutely beautiful time to get this therapy if possible, get some of that need support and some resources. If you want to join the conversation, so by tweeting at hashtag I'm listening, by sliding into the details on our love page. We'll be back tomorrow night, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. Thank you all for hanging out. I'll have a safe, beautiful night.